Hello and welcome back to the Nas Metal Production channel YouTube. Welcome to another album review. Today I am reviewing the newest, since of course it was just released today here on March 13th, the third album from of course one of the original new wave or traditional heavy metal bands, Dexter Ward. And again, it's just Title 3 and it was just again released today through No Remorse Records. Now, Dexter Ward are, like I said, are one of the original new wave or traditional heavy metal bands. Them alongside Enforcer and Skullfist and those kind of bands. But these guys hail out of Greece, and again formed back in 2009. And also just definitely was a great band. I definitely do remember checking out the album Neon Lights back in 2011, which was definitely a great album for sure, and it definitely got a lot of praise within the underground, especially from like 2012 and so on, just a year after it was released. I mean, I didn't really get to really hear much about the album, and at least many people praising the album and the band. When I going on to like the Force of Steel forum with one of the members there, who definitely hyped up Dexter Ward as definitely one of the most up and coming rising traditional heavy metal bands. And so it's definitely great. Of course, since then, again, this is their third full-length album, because they ended up following Neon Lights in 2016 with their first release through No Remorse Records, titled Rendezvous with Destiny. And of course, on those previous releases, their lyrical themes were more sci-fi fantasy influence and more based in everything. Whereas this newest album, there is definitely a little difference, especially when you see the cover art and everything, because it seems more like some different band, but this is the same Dexter Ward. The lyrical themes is definitely a lot more. It's definitely that there isn't much of that sci-fi fantasy, almost. I guess you could say cyberpunk, or very, sort of like Blade Runner, or those kind of, films like that, and that feel to it. Instead, they now are taking on more of a Dungeons and Dragons style of take here. Or at times maybe barbarians, hence that track number 5 here is the song title is Conan the Barbarian. So it definitely gives you much of an idea of what their lyrical ideas are on this sound. So it's a little more different this time around. However, upon listening to this album, it's still the same Dexter Ward, at least earlier, but it's definitely there's still a little difference. It's definitely more on the almost, I guess the way I could put it, almost epic power metal kind of feel for this album. And that's definitely very apparent with the very first track, Return of the Blades, which is a great way to open up the album. Just a very good way to open it. So, just great stuff. But throughout the album, from Return of the Blades to the very last track, The Demon Slayer, this album definitely has more of a galloping, almost less speedy, even though there is some speedier tracks on here, hence for me to bring up a song like Conan the Barbarian, which is definitely a big highlight for me. That's definitely a great fucking track off of this one. Is of course, I get it in many ways fits the sort of tone of a character, and really almost seems like it should be for some Conan the Barbarian movie. It just has that galloping, very speedy, very speed metal feel to it that almost gives the idea that if one has the picturing some sort of again, you I can play this on some of the more better moment or great moments from those films. Again, with either Arnold Schwarzenegger, about the fucking going to battle. It has that sort of feel. It definitely fits that. It's a great fucking track. But throughout most of the sound, there's definitely more of a galloping, almost mid-paced feel to it than I guess in a way compared to some of the more previous releases from this band. So it's definitely a little different, but not too different. Again, I can definitely tell from when I was definitely listening to the sound, they were listening to a lot of bands like Omen, or later era Iron Maiden and Obsession. And I'm trying to think of another band. I think those are the only three that really come to mind here. And again, great stuff. Just definitely, those are the overall ideas. And really, what has probably the biggest Iron Maiden feel to it is probably with the song "In the Days of Epic Metal," with the sort of almost very slow, almost very brooding, almost epic. Sort of a real soft guitar intro, which definitely has a way of course, due to, of course, Mark Dexter's vocal delivery on that beginning, really has that sort of later era Iron Maiden feel. It's actually something, let's say, off of like either Seventh Son, or even No Prayer for the Dying, or even there's some more as far as really later material, maybe like A Matter of Life or Death, or even Book of Souls. That kind of feel with the way, but of course, as it goes into it, of course, again, is able to still kind of keep that sort of almost our later era, our Maidenish feel to it, because it is definitely a great track. It's also definitely, it's not the longest song on the album, but definitely after the sort of 3 minute and 50 second track that is Soldiers of Light, which is another great track off the album. Definitely a great sort of modern, just great traditional metal song. This In the Days of Epic Metal clocks in like 6 minutes and 43 seconds. But definitely not the longest song here, but it's definitely great. And of course, following up with an even just as more almost atmospheric, epic track such as The Eyes of Merlin, which is another great track and definitely gives another idea of what kind of a theme that this band is exploring with this album. But it's also a great track too. But no, the longest song on the album here is actually the very last song, this Demon Slayer, which clocks in at 7 minutes and 24 seconds, but it's also one of my favorite songs off this album, and it's a great way to end it. Again, it starts off very atmospheric and abstract, and of course, before again going into a another sort of galloping riff monster of a track, and so this is definitely a great song to end the album. Overall, there's really not a bad song on this one. It definitely flows very well. This is definitely a good, and it's also definitely on the long side, the sound. No, not too long. The sound clocks in again at 45 minutes and 58 seconds. So pretty much close to 46 minutes actually, but still within that time, it still flows by pretty fast. It actually doesn't feel like 45 minutes. At times, it almost feels like 30 minutes because it just is just able to flow very easy and very smoothly, and doesn't really overstay its welcome. It's a very well put together. There's just not a bad song here. I really am also very impressed with Mark Dexter's vocal performance on here. He really has definitely progressed as far as a singer over the years, and with this album, I think this is definitely one of those albums that definitely pushed him a little bit further to really kind of give out a little more emotional vocal delivery. Even though he's definitely got that same sort of almost very metallic, raspy feel to his vocal cords and stuff, but he's able to at least also, for at least the moments on the songs that definitely need it, to really kind of give out a more melodic, more smooth delivery that just fits it. Very reminds me of, again, something, let's say, something like similar to what Bruce Dickinson would do on some of those later era Iron Maiden songs. But it definitely at times he also reminds me, again, why I also bring up maybe the Obsession comparisons, is that there are times where he does remind me a little bit of Michael Vasera in some places. So with overall, this is a great fucking album. This is definitely a good album for sure, and definitely what will make my favorite albums for sure of this year. So with that, I know this album was also released digitally. I know a certain channel that actually released it digitally on the day of March 6th. However, since, of course, this album has been released today officially and physically through No Remorse Records, I definitely would like to know if anyone else has picked this album up or had pre-ordered it or have yet to receive in the mail. And if you had received this album in the mail, definitely let me know what you thought of this album. I know, again, some of you might have already checked it out I'm not going to name any channels, but I know you probably know what channel I might be talking about that did release it, or at least uploaded it through their channel. And if you probably did check, and you did probably check that out, checked it out on March 6th. So again, you can definitely let me know what you thought of this album. I definitely think this is a great album. So for here, before I really end it, I'm definitely get on my score, because I've definitely have been very slacking on actually giving out the score within these videos, but I've just been more really just in the moment of just really talking about the sound. So my score is basically a 8.50 out of 10. It's definitely a solid album from these guys. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. This is Thrasher Sam out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.